Hola a todos and welcome to Inspiration Sunday here at R.Evolución Latina. Today our special panel includes Carlos Gonzalez, Monica Ho, Joomin Hwang, Raymond J.Lee, Milteri Concepcion, Justin Wing Timm, Francisca Muñoz, and Luis Salgado. Join us for this inspiring hour of conversation here on Inspiration Sunday.
Hola, Francisca.
Hola, buenos días. Feliz domingo.
Feliz domingo. Another Sunday together.
I know.
So nice. Look how beautiful that plant looks behind you, too.
I know. I don't know, this way. Yeah, it's my little... I'm trying to recreate a forest in my house.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sabes que uno de nuestros panelistas, one of our panelists today, has created a beautiful jungle in his house.
I know. I'm very excited.
Gonzalez. I think that's something that we gotta talk about. I think it's a nice addition. How are you feeling today, my love?
I'm feeling pretty good. I'm happy. The sun is out. The sun is shining. Nice, the weather's finally getting better, so I'm happy. How about you? How are you feeling?
Muy bien, gracias a Dios. To everybody watching, welcome to R.Evolución Latina. I dare to go beyond. Francisca, you remember this? We clapped.
Oh, yeah.
I dare to go beyond. Welcome to R.Evolución Latina. I dare to go beyond. There you go. So I hope everybody's daring to go beyond this morning, even with your cafecito in hand. And we have a wonderful group of humans that, again, we love and admire sharing the day with us. ¿Es o no es?
Eso, así es. It's always nice to have these Sundays. So sometimes we just need, the week goes by, we get so busy with our lives and everything. It's just to kind of just bring everything back in y estar juntos en comunidad, en familia, and just be together.
I love that. Estar juntos en comunidad, en familia, to be together as community, as a family.
Yes.
Y estar juntos, be together.
Yes.
So without further ado, I want to talk about a couple of points today. One is we are on StreamYard for the very first time.
It's weird. I don't know what. Wait a minute.
That's cute. It's very different than the Zoom. And one of our Revolución Latina leaders continues to learn all of these platforms. And I just want to celebrate her because I'm in awe.
Yes.
Not only she's a great stage manager and, one of the directors in Revolución Latina and assistant to the visions that we bring forward, but she learns all these things and makes it so easy. So Heather, would you pop up, please, so that we can give you a nice round of applause? Oh,
Heather!
Buenos días.
How are you today?
I'm great. It's good to see all these faces and have this conversation. I'm very excited.
Great. And how about this platform? You and Matt have put together a really cool setup for us here.
Amazing.
Yeah, let me tell you, you can learn anything on YouTube. So the last 48 hours, I've spent a lot on YouTube and a lot on basic graphic design stuff to create some cool backgrounds. So if I can do it, anybody can do it.
I love it.
I mean, yes, but you're pretty special. Yes. You do it really well, really quick. I'm very proud of you. So another round of applause for you, and thank you so much, Heather.
Thank you.
All right. Francisca, are you ready for this?
All right, let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's bring them in. Carlos Gonzalez, Raymond, Joomin, Milteri, Justin, and I think we're waiting on Monica, who's having some internet issues this morning. And here, there she is. We have our full team. Buenos dias.
Good morning.
How's everybody doing? Monica, how are you, my love?
I'm not bad. Just, I've moved to a new place, and so there's different internet. We have to get a mesh router, and it wasn't connecting. And so I'm sorry for being a little late.
Oh, you're fine. You're absolutely just on time. You're excellent.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
Look at this beautiful. I just want to take a moment of silence. I want to have this pause to see the beautiful faces that are on the screen. ¿Por qué te ríes, Carlito?
Nothing. I just love you.
Me too. But I really want, I got to take it in. Because I look at Milteri. Mira qué hermosa se ve. Milteri, ¿desde dónde nos estás hablando hoy?
Hi everyone. Good morning. Buenos días. The Boogie Down Bronx, the home of hip hop, Condado de la Salsa, and of course,
Boom, el bombazo. Milteri, I'm gonna start with you. We're gonna do introductions, but we're gonna do it in a really crazy, fun way for everybody. I'm gonna challenge us to do a this or that, esto o lo otro. So I'm gonna give you two options, right? And you're gonna answer whatever that option is. But in reality, we also want to know, as we said, your name, where you from, where you're in today, and how you feeling. So a lot of things. Your name, where you from, where you're in today, and how you're feeling. And after you answer this or that, then you create your own this or that and pass the ball to somebody else. And you got to call them by name, yeah? So I'm going to start with, let's see. Oh my God. This is kind of, is this, ¿cómo se llama?
I don't know. Is it like
A sound ball.
Sound ball? Meditation ball?
Oh, that sound. You want this? Or, so I'm talking to Carlos Gonzalez. Do you want this?
Oh, to me. Okay.
Yes, or that?
Ooh, why do you have that? What's that?
Because I study stage combat.
But it's rubber? The whole thing is rubber? Or does it come out?
It's
Oh,
rubber.
okay.
Yeah, so you want
Right.
peace and meditation.
It's like to cut the plantains or something.
Peace and meditation or stage combat violence.
Do the meditation one. The meditation is a clear choice.
Go for it, baby.
So it's my turn now?
Yes.
Okay, so, and I pick anyone. Oh, wait. No, my name, this is what I introduced. I'm sorry, the cafecito is hitting me right now. And like, just like my brain can't catch up right now with myself. Carlos Gonzalez. I am in Harlem at the moment, my little jungle that I've created. It is me, Francisca, who has a jungle. It is true.
To show me.
So I love your plant. I can tell what it is from here.
Thank you. I don't
Oh, it's a
really
little
know.
spider plant on the back.
Yeah, that's a little
the
spider.
one with the strip.
This one is like my ode to Miami.
Okay.
My little
I
palm
love
tree, and this is leftover from my birthday flowers. I'm
Oh my
still
God.
hanging on.
Amazing. But I'm feeling great today. It is so hot. I'm starting to already feel that heat. It's just like I'm channeling that Carnaval del Barrio in the Heights, just like leaning into it and not start complaining about like, oh, it's too hot. Because we're so easy to start complaining. We're like complaining about how cold it was, then how rainy it was. Now it's like too hot. People are like, oh, it's 90-something degrees. I'm like, yeah, it is. So let's lean into it. But I'm good. I just had a little cafecito. I feel great. And it is a beautiful panel, Luisito. That's so true. What? I'm sorry. I'm still not catching up with my brain. I said where I am. Oh, my this or that. Okay. So I'm going to go with Monica. Ready, Monica? Do you want to be wired up like me and have a little cafecito shot?
Oh, wow.
Like, this is just a little shot for the morning. This lasts me till noon. Oh, yes, Justin. Oh, I should have picked. Now, look at that. Justin, it's early. I know. This would wake you up. So you want a cafecito shot, or do you want a little Cuban oregano plant that smells delicious?
I could use the cafecito.
The cafecito
this morning.
shot.
Yeah, just to get my day started.
I know. A new apartment, new energy, unboxing things.
All right. So it was.
Amazing.
Thank you. It was name.
Your name, where you from, where you at, how you feeling today, this or that.
Okay, cool. So my name is Monica, and I grew up in the Bay Area near San Jose. I'm actually still in the Bay Area, but now I'm in Oakland. And so I'm coming to you from the West Coast. And the last thing was...
How are you feeling
this
today?
or that? Oh, how I'm feeling today? I'm excited. I'm finally, it's been 2 weeks since I've had my second shot. So I'm seeing my parents today, who I haven't not seen since November. And they're separated, so they each live alone. And so I think it'll be really wonderful to see them after, they've just been like by themselves for all this time. So,
now you're going to your this or that.
Raymond, cats or dogs?
Oh, that's so hard. I have 2 cats and no dogs right now, so I have to go with cats. Even though I begged my husband for a dog, and then we fostered 3 kitty cats, and then we kept one. So, hi everyone. I'm Ray. RaymondJ.Lee is my stage name. I'm an Army brat, but born in Atlanta, Georgia. My parents are from Seoul, Korea. Currently in the Hudson Valley, New York, just a few hours north of the city, but I'm still a Queens boy. I go back and forth. I'm feeling good today. It's nice to see other beautiful faces and to talk with other people, except for, besides my family. I feel like I see them all the time. I'm like, what do you need? Did you eat? Are you okay? So it's nice to see other people. Let's see. Oh, Justin. Brittany or Christina?
Oh, I mean, to me, I don't know. Brittany was like always the queen. I'm Justin. Hi. Let's see. I use he, him, his. I should have been paying attention to the chat, which obviously I am doing. I am from San Francisco, California, Bay Area. I'm currently in Los Angeles, even though I live in Brooklyn. So I'm just like visiting friends down here. How am I feeling today? I'm feeling great. I'm energized. It's early, but I'm excited to like always have these conversations, and I'm grateful to be here. Let's see, this or that. Let's go with Milteri. Would you rather have a pause or a rewind button in your life?
Wow.
Interesting.
Deep.
Pause or rewind. We just had a very long pause in a way. So I don't mind a little rewind going back to the 90s or late 80s to my childhood. So there you go. I'll select rewind. Buenos días. I'll reintroduce myself. I'm Milteri. I am from Ponce, Puerto Rico, in the Caribbean. I'm a Caribbean baby. I am currently in the South Bronx, the home again of hip hop, like Gonzalez salsa, and now of course Bombazo, my company. And let me see. I think Joomin, did I say that right? Okay, let me see. This or that. Okay, would you rather be a beach in the Caribbean or in Long Island?
I think it's so easy.
Wow.
100%.
No pun intended for people in Long Island, New York,
Oh, that makes me want to go to Bahama.
Oh.
So bad. Yeah. Anyway, hi guys. I'm Joomin Hwang. I'm from South Korea. I am currently in Washington Heights. Yeah. And I feel like right now, it's weird, but trees getting sun, or you're on the grass getting sun. That's a warmth in your body. Yeah, so I feel nice and relaxed. Yeah, that's how I feel. Yeah. Let me go to Francisca, right? Okay. Smoothie or fruit?
What is it?
Smoothie or fruit?
Oh.
I heard booty. I was like, what'd you ask, Joomin?
Well,
I was like, excuse me.
Booty or fruit?
I was like,
it's early.
Smoothie.
ask me later in the day. I would say smoothie. Smoothie. Okay, so I'm Francisca. I am in Yonkers, New York, originally from Chile via Australia. Let me see. ¿Quién falta? Luis.
Yo.
Okay. Dun, 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 dun. What would you rather? A nail file or AirPods.
Oh my goodness, this is so amazing. I think I need the nail file. My wife will be like, give him the nail file.
Reading your mind.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's blue, right?
It's crystal. Yeah, it's a crystal one.
Oh, it's so nice. Yeah, thank you. That's a lovely one. I need one of those. Now you know what to get me for my birthday.
Got it.
On August 30th. Virgo right here. All right. Thank you everybody for that introduction. My name is Luis Salgado. I am from Puerto Rico. I am right now in Harlem, New York, which I love. I talk with so much pride about the fact that since day one when I moved to New York City, I've lived in Harlem. And I actually been telling this story quite a bit this week for some reason. So I'm going to say it real quick again. And maybe it's because of perspectives. When I was moving to New York, people were like, oh my God, you're going to go to Harlem, be careful, yada, 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 right? There's the perspective of fear about Harlem. And I got out of the airport. I had 2 gigantic suitcases. This was in January 2002. And I got my Lincoln taxi, because at that time it wasn't like so much the yellow cabs, like you would try to holler on one of those, Lincoln taxis that are telling you in the airport, hey, you want a ride? I give you a ride for $35, right? And so I took the $35 ride because I needed to save money, but I needed to not carry my big bags on the train, so I needed to take a taxi. I get down on 139th Street, and there's these 2 big men, and they look at me and they say, do you need help? And I said, no, I'm good. And it's like, no, you need help. And they got my suitcases and they carried my suitcases with me all the way to the 5th floor. And I said, oh shit, I just got to Harlem. And I love Harlem since that day. And so that's my story about Harlem for everybody. Anybody that's thinking, I don't know what Harlem is and still hasn't come. This is why I'm telling the story, because I had friends that came from Puerto Rico who are staying in Soho and had never been to Harlem. And they came to visit me and they were so wondrous. Like about, and is this okay? And you feel comfortable? It's like, boo, we're in 2022. This question is obnoxious, but I love you. Anyway, that it's okay. It's okay. I think we are in the journey of educating each other into opening our eyes to the incredible amount of potential that is all around us. And because we don't know, we fear. And because we fear, we block. And because we block, we start hating. And maybe the conversation of the day, my friends, is about how do we stop hate, right? How do the fact that we are all sharing this space, this channel, this revolution of evolution through the arts makes us be of hope, makes us be the thing that helps contribute to stopping the amount of hate that is going on in our world today. And we want no more. That's my opening statement for all of you. I'm not going to call on anybody. You can basically start talking about this idea. Please go.
I think what's important, I'm going to jump in, is education, right? So really, and it's not about being spoon-fed that education. It's about you yourself as an individual learning about these things, learning about what's going on today, learning about other people and what they like, where they come from, their culture, their experiences. And it makes us, I feel like somewhere along the line, we forgot how to be social outside of our social media. Like that has become our way to be social, but we don't know how to, if we see someone on the street, we look the other way. We don't know how to say hello anymore, how to stay in touch, organically anymore. So I think it's about really just educating yourself and being open to other people, accepting, embracing other people who they are, and just getting to know each other again in this new way, because we're all changed from everything, from our huge pause that we had. So I think we need to start there with that education. Yeah.
Yeah, Francisca, you're so right about I'm a big in-person social, kind of human. And I sometimes get a lot of, overwhelming feelings with social media, and you try to be educated, and obviously because of this past year we've had to just be on social media, and that kind of became like the way that people started getting information, and then the way that people started giving ideas and counter ideas and Instagram lives, which are a little bit better because there's someone at least to look at,
right.
But yeah, I think as things are coming back, I hope that people put the gas pedal even more than before on reaching out to people and having like in-person conversations. That's why I love conversations like this more, that I would say yes to, instead of like commenting on Instagram and putting a statement out, written statements and things about all the things that we've gone through. It's just like hearing and all of you, like I want to hear other people's point of views and just obviously in a safe environment that there's no judgment, and just being vulnerable to say, I don't know, please teach me, and just seeing someone in the eyes different. It's so important. So I completely agree with you.
It's very important.
That silence is so beautiful.
Yeah.
Milteri, go ahead.
Me estaba leyendo la expresión. Yes, education is key. Education starts at home. I'm a new mother, so I love myself to learn about other peoples and other cultures. That's how my parents also raised me. Not to just be in a little bubble. But one of the greatest things when I moved to New York in year 2000, and I moved to the Bronx, not anywhere else, right? Where again, like Luis Ayala said in the beginning, it's like, oh my God, the Bronx, right? It has like this totally bad rep for anybody. But it's like, it's such a great place. It's a great place for history, but it also allowed me to step outside the box and just be open to all the beautiful communities and cultures that New York City has, but also the Bronx. So it's not only education, but it's also I think I want to plan. How do we stop everything that's happening in the world? It's how do we stop this greed that happens? Because some of this stuff and hatred, even though it's education, but if your family, we come from a generation of people who are hating other people, because even in our Hispanic society and communities that exists, this is nothing new. And I want to take it back a little bit. I'm sorry if I'm taking it a little bit deep, but it's sometimes ingrained from all the colonistic powers and how they try to divide us and try to forget or erase our own histories, coming from the point of being Black and Afro-Latina, even in Puerto Rico. All of this comes systemically already ingrained within our communities, and some of it also comes to greed, as we're seeing, is greed of power. Who has more control over the other? And then, and that's what we're living today. We've been living this constantly. And it's not just this year. It's not just this, this week. This has been something that is continuing to build up, and it's kind of exploding. So, it's how do we not only educate ourselves, but try to educate our communities, but also how do we kind of break or amend or stop that greed that is really building up all these differences and adding on to the hatred between them amongst us.
Milteri, I want to jump on that in many angles. And my friends, am I okay? Am I freezing? Am I okay?
You're good. You're good.
My friends, I want to remind you that every little topic we're bringing forward, we can go in any direction. I don't want to control the conversation. I want our friendship to lead the conversation rather than Francisca and I. Yeah, but I'm gonna jump on a lot of what Milteri said. The first thing that you reminded me, Milteri, Heather Hathaway, who you met with us, with me when we were working at Ballet Hispanico, just this week did a racial healing for the leaders of R.Evolución Latina. It was a 2-hour workshop. I was so moved being there. We got to exchange so much and learn from each other, even within the team of RL. And one thing that popped up a lot is that a lot of these racial issues we experience, and we must be mindful about in our unconscious ways, does come from the way that we were raised and the culture that we inherit, right? Like, I'm going to give you a bizarre example that she didn't actually get to showcase on our racial healing, but I had seen the video she had prepared before. It's a video about 5 minutes in silence, where it shows you how the slaves were brought from the African area into the Caribbean and the South America South America's fortunes. And that video goes and goes and goes from the Spaniards, from the British, from the French, and literally, like, I'm sorry, and I apologize for saying it, but like as if they were cattle, as if they were, right, like animals. And when you just look at that basic idea that is how the foundation of our culture got started. Of course, there's a lot of drama in our heritage. And then you go into the fact that our natives, whether you call it the Taínos in Puerto Rico, right, or the Aztecs, were extinct by that same idea of colonization. And I'm not blaming here the Spaniards today, right, because that will be creating another type of hatred that is not what I'm about. But I am about just being aware of where we're coming from. And then from the mix of our cultures, in my case, Puerto Rico case, the Jíbaro was born, but the Jíbaro was another slave, un peón to the Spaniard colonization that was the landowner, right? And then we get inherited by the United States of America when we do our Commonwealth, and now we're workers where we're doing labor work for the United States sort of like industry, but Puerto Rico doesn't even get paid taxes on that. Of course, we are living in a grade of poverty that puts us in a position of being called such quote unquote minorities in many fields, educational, economic, social standard. Just with that example alone, who is Luis Salgado or Milteri Tucker or Carlos Gonzalez, right, in the Caribbean sort of experience to accomplish quote unquote the American dream? Like, what position of disadvantage are we in to fight towards something that should be equal for everyone? And I think the conversation does start in that basic. Go ahead, Milteri.
But it's so true what you said, and thank you Heather for doing that video. I did not see it, but it's true, our history. But take it back further. That comes to power greeds from not only the European powers, but also we cannot forget. And if you go to the museum in oh my God, I always say that word wrong. The Smithsonian on the African American heritage in DC, you'll see that it's also greed within the powers and tribes in Africa as well that participated. It was all about money. The Europeans did not know where to find our own people, our ancestors. They were guided. Hey, yeah, take them, and I'll take some gold from you, and some more.
Right.
It has been all about greed and capitalism, So it goes back, all this hatred, all that was done to our people. Who we are today and what's happening not only in Puerto Rico today, but many other countries. You look at Colombia right now. Colombia right now. How the government is not taking care of the people. They don't really care about the people. I have dear friends, company members who are Colombian. And, they don't even have a choice. They don't even have protection even against the pandemic and the virus, because the government really don't care. And it's all up. And I'm taking it back for me, and my humble opinion and view is greed of who has control, who has power. And how do we break that? How do we come together? And
what you're saying is so valuable. And I am so grateful. I also want to make sure that the diversity we have in this particular space can balance the act. So Raymond, Justin, Monica, anything that we have said, does it trigger any truth of your own background, history, sort of heritage or inherence into where we are as a society or as people?
I have to say, like, just being Asian American too, like I grew up very differently. I don't know, with the rest of my Asian American brothers and sisters, like that we were taught not to make waves. And that in itself is a way to keep the minorities in its place. I don't know if that was something that my parents were told or like a rumor that was like started and brought over to Korea, but it was almost like when you were here, you slipped under the radar, you didn't make waves, you didn't make noise. And to me, being older now, I'm like, wait, that's just a way to control and keep everyone separated. Mm-hmm. And so with my daughter, and this is an answer to the question before that you posed, I just feel like the next generation also holds a lot of power. So I sometimes get overwhelmed with what I can do for everybody. And I just put my focus in my daughter. I tell her as a female, no one can ever tell her what she can or cannot do. No one can ever tell her what she can or cannot do based on her skin. She has beautiful, dark, half Caribbean, half South Asian skin, and I want her to be proud of that, and I want her to make noise when she wants to, and which is completely different from how I was raised. So I think the next generation is also going to be a big key to change.
Yes, 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 and yes. Anybody else? Yes, Monica.
Raymond, some of the things you mentioned just reminded me. I've started to read Minor Feelings, which I can't remember the name of the author right now, but that's really opened my eyes to just the invisibility of Asian hatred that's been so prevalent in U.S. history since when Asian people were first immigrating here, and just the many different ways that impacts even our daily lives, because it's just like these invisible strings that cut. I feel like today I'm so happy to be here, but I'm here with like so many questions in mind, as someone who is still like trying to jump into this industry and join all of you in community, when I'm like, a whole like bunch of states away from the East Coast, and wondering about how to even start a career, especially in New York City as things are coming back, because I feel like with the way that I look and who I am, I don't understand my place yet in this post grad school world for me. But I think that unfortunately Asian sentiments and things are going to be something that I'll have to learn how to deal with. And I guess my big question right now is how to deal with an institution that maybe does not place EDI as like a value, or maybe, claims to and doesn't realize that it doesn't actually hold those values. So that's what I'm pondering at this moment.
Just to make sure, Minor Feelings, you're talking about Kathy Park Hong?
Yes, that's the book.
Yeah. And also you mentioned the word invisible strings, right? Can you tell us a little bit more about invisible strings as an idea?
I think that there are so many ways that like Asian Americans can take discrimination and not express it and not let other people know about it, and the like even being confrontational, or even bringing it up in a group can be hard, even in a supportive group. I'm thinking specifically of one of my friends who she was on her way to get her COVID vaccine, and somebody on the street just spat on her face. And she, shows up to the clinic and she's crying, and, it was hard for her to even bring that up. And I hold her in my heart, because she felt like even in a group of other Asian Americans, even with like the conversations that we were having about race, that she was ashamed to bring that up. And I'm really glad that she did. But I think that there are just so many ways that it just feels like Asian Americans have been kind of pushed to the side of whatever is like happening in U.S. history. I'm thinking of an example in Minor Feelings of when the railroad was finished and they pushed all of the Chinese immigrants out of the way in order to snap the picture of like the completion of the railroad.
Wow.
And a story that was really shocking to me, which I had never heard of in history class or anything, is that one of the largest lynchings in U.S. history actually happened to Chinese Americans. That it was in LA. There was some rumor that a Chinese boy had whistled at a white woman, and so there were these white men who came into LA's Chinatown and lynched a bunch of boys and men who were Chinese American. And these are stories that I've never heard of until I started to really look into it.
But that's the other thing. Sorry, Monica, for interrupting you, but that's the other thing, that the literature that we get to read or study in our schools is selected by a group of people that totally can ignore the Caribbean history that I was talking about, or this kind of history that you're mentioning. And so our educational and upbringing into our intellect is not balanced. It's not a diverse balance of information. It's perhaps a one-sided approach to thinking and capital. Yes, Raymond.
I just also, not to detract, but like Monica, you said something before about making your way or seeing where you fit in as an Asian American or person of color in this industry. And I'm like, don't fit in, do your own thing. Because as someone, and I say to all the next generation of artists out there, because I was told that I should stick to King and I's and Flower Drum songs and Saigons, and I'm like, but I sing like I'm a pop, like I'm more pop, and that's not going to sound good, you know? And it was like, for the longest time, I was like, where do I fit in? And then I wasted so much trying to being a square peg in a round hole. And it's just better to make your own hole, just literally. And so take that with you. You're gonna hopefully shed all the years I feel like I not wasted, but I was in turmoil on how to fit in.
If I say sorry, go ahead, Justin, my love, go ahead.
I was just reacting to that because I feel like I'm like cusping on this piece of it, having like lived half of my life feeling what like Monica's feeling, right? And actually a lot of my Asian American like friends feel this also, right? This, you know, I think it's cultural. The culture piece has to really be talked about because like across the Asian cultures, right? They're typically very communal cultures to begin with, which is partly why, like, even in a group dynamic like this, right? Like the first 5 minutes, we're just Latinx voices speaking, and we're just like on the sidelines listening, and that's just something that we have to break the habit of. Two, I mean, we all the Asian cultures have a relationship to shame, which I think has to do with our ability to speak out or not speak out. And then three, I mean, there's a lot of pride, right? Pride and face giving, you know, it's across the different cultures. Is manifested in different ways, but I think all of those can also be tools that we're using to enter the next phase, right? And the term Asian American I want to talk about because that came about in 1969 as an activist term to unite the Asian groups, because before that, everyone, you know, we just don't have the numbers, right? To be quite honest. And the term came about to unite, you know, people of Asian descent in America so that there is a bigger buying power, because Asians have always been left out of the conversation regarding race, right? And even like I went to UCLA and we had the Social Justice Institute come and teach us social justice to a school that's 34% Asian, which is the largest percentile like in school, and only talk about Black and white issues, right? And it's like the problem is at the institutional level, to Luis's point, right? Is that the history that we're being taught is curated and written. But it's you know, it's gate kept by white men, right, and white people in power, and that's the issue that we have to. I don't know if it's finding better terminology for white supremacy, right, so that, you know, whenever we say the term white supremacy, it's not just linked to the Klan, because like we know exactly what that image looks like, right? But the more dangerous aspects of white supremacy to me are, you know, the Amy Coopers of the world, right, which is where I think, you know, where we live. The white allies in theater, right, that are seemingly on, you know, have diverse values but don't practice what they preach, right, and they have all these blind spots that no one's calling them on because they're in power. And I think that's the, you know, like I go back and forth with this because I'm sort of at the point of like I don't care anymore. Like we're gonna have to speak out, and like that's the only way that we're gonna make it better, is that if we have to be able to have like these conversations. And I mean, part of that work has to come from white people. I'm talking to you. Like, you have to get comfortable with discomfort, right? Like, I think people of color are used to being uncomfortable and used to being othered. And there is a level of discomfort that I don't know if it's like entitlement or it is linked to white supremacy that white people just aren't used to facing and sitting with. And that's just something that like you gotta get used to it. Because I think all people of color will tell you that, you know, we sit in discomfort every day and we sit in otherness all the time. And it's just part of like the American experience for people of color. And that discomfort is where you're gonna learn the most.
I want to jump on a couple of things there, if I may. First of all, I'm going back to Monica because she's asking, how do I start? And I just want you to know, not for saying it publicly or anything, but like, really, Francisca and you having won the Raymond J, you know, scholarship award, like you're always in our brains. We're always like, where can we give opportunities? So know that I submit both of you and you too, Justin, to a concert that I'm directing in California. So I am hoping that the company will you know, open up to those recommendations. And that I, if not get away with all three of you, get away with at least one of you with us there. That's one thing I want to put out there, that there are people really trying to champion the fact that we know your talent. And even though you're in LA, we want you in New York. We want you wherever we are, because that talent, we want to shine it everywhere we can. So I just want you to know that. Justin, to your point about even the first 5 minutes of this particular conversation was Latinx. Wow, thank you. The awareness of that alone. You know, that is my answer would be that wasn't intentional. However, the intentional is a conversation that we're having as well, which then makes me say, let's make sure, Justin, which you have had our microphone by your own on Instagram, and how many IG lives have you hosted on R.Evolución Latina so far?
We're 2 of 4.
And how have that experience been?
They're great. You know, I think that's what's unique. And I think these are the types of like the more stories that we keep asking for are this, right? It's like, what are the intersections that we aren't seeing, right? And I do think that like, you know, having, this is beautiful to me, right? Having AAPI voices in like a traditionally Latinx space, talking about these types of issues and how they affect, you know, us together. I mean, last week we talked about, purely like the numbers and representation with like the Latinx experience and the Asian experience. And the numbers are almost like identical, right? And I think that's the thing that, you know, to your point, we can learn from each other.
Yeah. And on that, sorry for interrupting you. I want to keep going and you can follow up right away. And in that learning from each other, I want to lead to 2 things. One, that I think the next BIPOC conversation in R.Evolución Latina, if you accept, actually should be led by you, Justin, and Milteri. You just made me realize that balance always can be so incredible and powerful. So if you both accept, that will be my strong recommendation for the next panel that the 2 of you hosted. Would you say yes to that? You don't have to say yes now, but.
Well, I just wanted to, yeah, you know, I'm always open to collaboration and partnership, because the more we learn from each other, you know, we can better inform the next generation, like Raymond was saying, right? So my intention was not to make it an Afro-Latinx thing, but I just feel like that's like what happens in any culture and what really divides us, you know? And I was taking it from also and looking at it from an experience that I'm coming, but it's very great always to these type of conversations are great, and I want to know, and maybe you pose the questions like, beyond these conversations, how can we dare to take it more into action now as we start opening things up, you know? So posting that question.
And the last thing, because I do want Joomin and Francisca to jump in, because it's the voices I have heard less. So going from all that thing that we have said, John Shu is the director of In the Heights, written by Lin-Manuel Miranda and Qué Alegría Udes. So what's happening here, this friendship, conversation, and acknowledgement of our cultures as something that can unite, must unite, and work together to create awareness and empowerment, is exactly what the film version of In the Heights today is celebrating around the world. John Chu working with the text of the Latinx community story of In the Heights. And Joomin, one of the statements you made is you're so excited for the movie to come out. So go home. Tell me everything you're feeling about it. Why is it important? And also, how does it influence or impact the fact that Broadway is coming back?
Yeah, I was a little bit shocked that John M. Chu was directing In the Heights. I was like, I thought, you know, there are always cultural appropriate is it authenticity to, like, let's say some white actor playing Asian role and people saying something about it, you know. So like I thought there would be a noise and like something, I don't know. But so far I have not heard anything. But and I knew John M. Chu way back then. He was directing dance videos. It's called LXE. I don't know if you guys know it. It's amazing dance videos. He knew how to film dance videos. It was like, I think, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. I don't know when it started. If you guys want to go watch it, it's just amazing. So I'm very, very excited. His view, and then he proved in Crazy Rich Asians about like he can put all the culture and like it's like so glamorous, I would say, the film itself. And so I'm very excited how those two he's like big strong suits comes together, and I can already see it through the trailers. It's already amazing. So I'm very excited. Yeah, I like listening to all of you guys' stories. Really, I mean, always educate me. For me, as an Asian immigrant, when I first came to the U.S., I was walking on the street. Strangers saying hi to me was so like strange to me, like, because in Korea we never say hi to strangers. We don't even look at each other because that's offensive. It's weird, right? When you look at somebody you don't know, it leads a fight or something. So it was so weird that I accepting that, oh, okay, so here they are like saying how are you, and like, you know, learning all this. And then I was usually like, I don't fit in, I do whatever I want, I'm just stand out, I don't care person. And then living here year after years, I was changing into like I have to fit in kind of mentality, because I felt I was powerless. You know, I think it's very important thing, because when you feel, I mean, I don't know, just it's in my experience, when you feel powerless, you just there's this ego to you want to belong somewhere, you know, you want to fit in somewhere. And then I totally understand with Monica, where you don't know where I should start. I used to be so, I don't care about anything, like even like 3-4 years ago. But the more I learn about America, the more knowledge I get more conscious, I feel like. So I am in this stage, it's really weird stage that try to digest a lot of information and still try to be me, that not changing myself. It's hard to explain. I don't know, it doesn't make sense.
Funny how our heads all shaked.
Yeah.
Well, it's like you can't unknow something, right? And I think it's like, as the awareness and as like the language gets clearer, and as we build a bigger vocabulary for how to talk about these things, it's like you can't unknow and go back to before, right? And the same thing with, I think it was Daniel J. Watson said it, like Broadway can't come back, it has to come forward, right? And I think it's, you know, I think Black Lives Matter like has so much to thank about this conversation, because it was the most blatant and like the first time that the whole country had to really like sit and watch and like realize or acknowledge that this, you know, even this may be an issue, right? And there's never been a reckoning like that, at least in like in modern history, or at least in my upbringing, right? That it's felt like it's come to a head, and that the ripple effects of that, right? Are incredible. And that's what, the way that I think we have to honor that, right? Similar to like how we have to honor our parents, is that like we have to then take to that and run with it, right? Like we can't let it go back. We can't slip into old habits, because that normal is not going to be there, right? And we are the future, and we have to be able to unabashedly like fight for that equity, right? And fight for that place at the table, because, even in the first 5-minute interaction thing, right? It's like we are given the platform, right? Ray, Monica, and like we have to speak up, and we have to, find our lane, when we feel comfortable, right? Like obviously, I think it has to do with like.
I want you to know that you should always feel welcome here to like be like, Luis, hold on, I need the mic. Like, no, that's what I said this before we started the interview, right? Like, this is for all of us to. I don't even want to run it. I just want to have the conversation and learn. I think Raymond was saying, out of a camera before we started, that we are uneducated on what's going on right now in Israel, right? Like, and I want to be able to support that the way that I'm supporting Colombia's issues, but I don't have the same relationship and contacts that I do in Colombia. So it's easy for me to jump in and call all my Colombian students and be like, hey, what's going on? What's the perspective? What's going on in the streets? How can I help you? But I don't necessarily have that access in what's going on in Israel. So I want to be educated. I want to bring, the people that are in the middle of that issue and learn directly from them and ask myself, how can I contribute? Does that make sense? Like, I think like to your point, Justin, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, the mic is there and we got to be okay with taking it too. I think we are humans, both of our cultures, correct me again if you think I'm wrong, that come from a very humble place. We believe ourselves to be like, I don't want to bother anybody. I know I do that a lot. Like, I'm so sorry that I am asking this question. I'm so sorry that I'm so sorry that I'm asking you for this meeting. I really need your advice on this. No. Why can I not ask for that advice? Why can I not level myself to that producing mental skill so that then I can produce things that represent my people with the real values of producing right? But we don't have the examples of producing right. And when I say right, I'm talking about Broadway style producing, which also is another thing. We don't have to produce a la Broadway all the time, but we must learn what makes Broadway productions efficient so that we can then emulate or not by choice what works or doesn't work for us as producers, right? And I'm right now in a little bit of a mission of supporting the idea of decentralizing Broadway by creating more spaces. I was just checking out, talking about the Bronx, spaces in the Bronx that are very exciting to me. And I went to producers of The Great White Way and I asked, what do you think? And, lucky enough, they said, if you build it, they will come, which is very helpful and gives me the mentorship guide and inspiration I need to say, all right, let's go build it, but we must ask for that meeting and get that microphone for a little bit, learn from what we can, and speak out loud on our own truth. I mean, it goes both ways. We cannot just wait for things to come our way.
Also, too, for me, like a recent pet peeve of mine is when people, or specifically white producers or white-run theaters, say, look at our diversity, and it's white and black faces. And especially with our communities, I'm like, wait, there's also Latinx and there's Asian American. Because I feel like a lot of the times to solve the diversity problem, one black face gets hired. And that's the pattern that I see. And they're like, look, we're doing it. And I'm like, that's great. But there's a lot of other communities you have to be aware of. And that's where I've started kind of calling out and being loud about that. Because, our communities get overlooked a lot or get pushed to the side, I think.
Talking about pushing aside, I'm going to call myself out. I get so passionate that I keep jumping on asking questions. And Francisca is my co-host. That immediately can be like, Francisca can be like, Luis, you've been asking the questions for the last 45 minutes. And
you like to talk, okay? So thing, right? You just keep on talking. No, it's fine. No, I think, definitely. I like sitting in these conversations too and co-hosting with you because I like to listen to what everybody has to say as well. You know, that's what sometimes we just don't listen, and I think that's really important. We just really have to listen to each other. I actually want to say something to Monica, like woman to woman, right? Is that I feel like, you know, and this is just like a little my heart, giving my heart to you. It's find how do I say this? Do you, and then your opportunities will come. Because if you try and be someone else that you're not, then you'll never be organically yourself, and then you will fit into that. Navigating how do you fit into the community, right? Into the professional world community, I suppose. I think the biggest thing for me was, so I was born in Chile. I grew up in Australia. So I grew up very much Australian, really. And my experiences with the Latin community was when I joined this massive salsa band. And I was one of the lead singers. I didn't really speak a lot of Spanish at the time. And I learned to speak Spanish because the MD didn't speak English. So I learned to speak Spanish through the songs, and then by him like speaking to me, and it was kind of like a little bit broken, but we learned from each other. But what I learned from that, from growing up there and then moving here to the States, I was always like, okay, now I have to be like this Latina from the US. But that's not me. I didn't grow up here. Okay. So I feel like, you know, I grew up in Australia. So I'm a Latina from Australia. And there's a lot of us, a lot. There's a huge community. There's a huge Asian American community. There's a huge Indian community. There's a Greek community, Pakistan community. There's huge, humongous communities of different places. What I learned coming here is that, and it took some time finding my footing, is to, if I'm not myself and I don't show these people, and this is, you know, I'm speaking work-wise, if I don't show them who I am, then how are they going to hire me if they don't know who I am? What can I bring to this project that makes me unique to myself? And that, I think, speaks much more volumes, because if they like you, they'll hire you. That's it. You know, I wouldn't say, you know, don't try and fit in. It's like what Raymond said, make your own little mark. Like, here I am, this is Monica, and this is what I'm going to bring. The mujer a mujer, woman to woman. That's what I would say to you.
And I would add, it's just being confident in yourself and your artistry. And, you know, now there's no excuse, but, you know, we have these platforms where we can show. We have the Facebook, we have the social media.
Right.
Also, you know, it's just building your own lane. And I strongly believe, because it happened to me, I'm like, speaking from my experience, I was too black to be too black to be Hispanic, or too light to be African American. I didn't fit in a certain box. And I said, you know, whatever. I like, you know, my thing is Afro-Caribbean, and I like bomba, and this is what I'm going to do. And I started creating my own work and invited people to come and see my stuff. You know, even, you know, you have a support group right here.
Yep.
Luis, Francisca, everybody here. And now we have this advantage that you can create an event and from anywhere in the world come in. And I think this is true for, you know, for anybody, any artist who I'm still trying to find my way. So,
yeah.
You know,
yeah, that's right.
But
it's very freeing once you like find that, and you're always learning. I think that's the beautiful part.
Truly, and I'm going to attest to this, because when you do your own thing, people will remember you quickly. I never auditioned for In the Heights, the movie. The way I got to be in that is that the community, the dancers, they needed, hey, who knows bomba? In the community, who knows me, the salsa world and the hip hop world and any other world, say, oh, you gotta get bombazo, you gotta get Milteri, you know, like, you know, I was like in because they remember and associated me with this. So then all of a sudden, like, okay, I send in my material and I'm in the rehearsal spot. So I really think it's forging your own way, you know. There are many inspirations that you want, but it's at the end of the day, it's you as an artist.
Yes.
And we are paving the way. We're changing the way things are being made and set. We are setting other standards. So I think it's just about you being comfortable in your own skin, you being confident, And if it works out, great. And if it doesn't work out, you know, you continue because, you know, it's you.
That's right. You just be authentically you because you're enough. We're enough. I think we don't say that to ourselves. We are enough.
Bravo, Milteri. Everybody, I'm getting a lot of messages on text message and too. Denise is a fan of you by now. She's like, I'm a fan of Milteri. Just you should know that. So we're so proud of you also, Milteri, because you have done that. We have seen you since our very first choreographers festival. You know, be a student, be quote unquote in sort of that newbie space of where do I go, how do I go about the things I want, and we have seen you grown into a very powerful leader. You know, and I love that. I love that. May I suggest a little game that hearing Francisca speak came into my mind? She said, I like to listen, I like to learn. So I would like to play a game, and I'm gonna start leaving Monica, Milteri, and Francisca learn about something about each other. So we're gonna completely give you the room. We're gonna go out into the standby room, and we're gonna give you 3 minutes. So you have a minute each to learn something from however you want to do it. And then I'm gonna go into Carlos and Justin. I want the two of you to have a moment, a human moment. And so that's another 2 minutes. And then Min and Joomin. I'm not going to play unless you want me to play. If anybody wants me to play, I'll join. But I want to create these spaces and see where those conversations of finding something new about each other might go. Do I have your permission to do this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to start, Heather. If we can keep in the room Monica, Francisca, and Milteri, and they're going to have a timeline of 3 minutes. I love you all.
Well, Justin, I guess you're staying.
Okay. All right. So what do we who wants to start? Milteri, tell us a little bit about yourself that we don't already know.
Ay, Dios mío. I don't know. Okay. I am learning the ropes of being a mother. I'm a new mom. So juggling my schedule as an artist, as a wife, and as a mom is something.
How old is your baby?
She is 7 months.
Oh, baby.
Yeah, baby. So I don't know. If there's something pops in my head, I'll shout it out. But maybe Monica, go.
Monica, go.
Oh, I was actually, Milteri, I was going to ask you a question, which is what inspired you to start dancing?
Oh,
when you were first little.
Yes. You know, that music, and that's always been a part of my family, and always dancing together. I think every culture has this, like dancing together, in the living room and la sala. So, you know, my grandmother, my mom, and my aunt, those are my rocks. And we were always, and I have pictures of me dancing. So that has always been a part of me. And I don't know, like when you're little, when you lock you're alone and you start putting music and you imagine you're the artist or you're dancing with so like I used to be a Backstreet Boys fan. Here you go. Nobody knows about that. I'm not in sync. Sorry. Boys. So I used to envision myself that I would be performing. And every time I would dance, I used to imagine that I was working with the choreographer, Fatima, at the time. Or I was, they were in the audience. They were seeing me. I got to meet the Backstreet Boys, long story short. And I was like, 13, full force. They were the one who gave me the tickets. I went to see musical. But, that kind of like in the back, I always wanted to be, dancing with an artist. And thanks to my mentor, Maria Torres, I got to do that with Don Omar in the Latin.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, that is, my mother, I have a strong, the woman in my life is part of my culture also. And I just love it. And it's giving me more confidence. When I step on stage, I feel like I'm somebody else than when I'm still the same person, if it makes sense. But I feel like a superhero when I'm on stage,
Yeah. It's an extension of you. I think that's so beautiful about art, because it helps us express ourselves in other ways when sometimes it's hard to communicate with people. That's what art does.
Francisca, how about you growing up in Australia?
It was a very interesting. I'm very grateful for having grown up in Australia, but I found I had a hard time finding who I was as a Latina in Australia in the industry. So it was. I was always trying to. It was the same thing. I was too ethnic, what they call too ethnic, looking to be on TV, or not Latin enough, or looks like she could be mixed with something else. We don't know what she is. So there was always that little bit of a struggle. And it honestly wasn't until I moved to the States, and I moved to Miami. So I've been in the States now 9 years, and I moved to Miami. And I was just embraced by the Latin culture that I finally felt like, okay, this is where I fit. But how can I still make a ripple, or like a big whoosh, like a big wave in the industry, in the community as a whole, to still feel like I can do something here? And I feel like being here has really opened my eyes, and learning to accept myself more, even as a Latina, like Australian Latina, to accept that of me and be like, hey, that's really beautiful and that's unique and that's me. So why hide it?
Monica, just spit out some facts. I don't know. My favorite color is blue. I prefer dogs over cats. I enjoy eating junk food sometimes, and
we all do.
Gosh, what else about me?
What kind of junk food?
I was thinking about fish and chips just now.
Oh,
but I was also thinking about
that's junk food. I don't think that's junk food.
Oh, really? Okay, good.
I was thinking like M&M's, like Cheetos.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm a big Hot Cheetos fan. And then about my art, or I don't know, I'm just trying to think. I think one of the reasons why I started being an artist, and why I found that so deeply and so early on in my life, is because there were so many things that I wanted to express, but being growing up in an East Asian household and having family who, like, at the time, I didn't realize that our whole our whole presence in
she froze.
Oh no,
Monica, no.
Okay,
she's back. She's back.
Am I back?
You're back.
Okay, great. I was just saying that when I was little, I didn't realize that one of the big reasons why I was born and growing up here in America is because of both my parents, but in separate, growing up in separate countries, had to flee those countries to escape oppression, to escape war. And so I think that there is some generational trauma that has never really been processed or discussed, but that it manifested itself growing up with like a lack of emotional safety, a lack of expression. So as I got older, I think there were just so many feelings that I had inside of me that I wasn't seeing the adults in my life express. Pretty much like just didn't see emotions from my relatives or my parents, besides like anger or nothing, or the occasional laugh. So I wanted to deep dive into expressing myself in all sorts of ways, with visual art, with playing music, and with acting. And it was there that I started to really unpack and discover things that I was like just starting to put words to, or images to, and learning about myself through my art.
That's like just exactly what Milteri was saying before about you, like you feeling like you're someone else. It's an extension of you when you're on stage, and just being able to express yourself that way, which is beautiful.
Yeah, and also discovering yourself, your strengths, even going back to your own history, things that you can uncover, and we can all learn from each other.
That's right. The humanity.
Yeah.
Let's bring in Carlos and Justin.
Hola, hola.
Hello.
Okay, hi,
right,
Justin. So it's just us now?
It will be. But Milteri, I'm also a Backstreet Boys person. I'm 100% on that thing.
Okay. You tell me your favorite one later.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi, Justin.
Hi, Carlos. Nice to meet
How are you? Nice to meet you. I know. This is always a good way of meeting like new people.
Right?
Okay, so I wanted to ask you something. I wanted to ask you if you've always like had this passion for performing, like, or did you have anything else besides performing in your journey?
Yeah, I feel like I wanted to do theater like really early. I think my parents took me to see Beauty and the Beast when I was like 5 years old. And I remember like just being obsessed with like the Broadway production. And I like had a fascination with like the puppet wolves that they used to use. I don't know. And
I've never seen it.
Oh, it's incredible. Like that original production. I think they like designed it in like 2007 or something. But I don't know. And there was just something about like, to me, theater, and there's a specific reason why I like theater more than TV. And it's like, I think it's the closest thing that we have to magic. It's like all of these like seemingly like something that shouldn't work works, right? Everyone works together and everyone sort of like believes, and like that belief gives flight to like amazing, emotional depth, and it opens your heart. I don't know. So yes, I think I fell in love with it like really early on, and I've always wanted to do it. To Monica's point, actually, I felt like I really had to do it. I actually used to work a corporate life. I quit 2 years ago. I used to be essentially an Imagineer, but like I used to design theme parks at a film studio.
Oh my God.
And cushy corporate life. And this is in my scholarship application, actually. And I quit, I was a director level executive at a film studio, and I quit to be an actor. Because I believe so much in the work that like theater artists do, but like actors do in general. And there's not enough of like me, my face on the screen. And I think about, like the pain and trauma of like my upbringing, and just how much better it would have been had I had like examples to look to be able to like navigate conversations and navigate, my coming out and navigate all of my life, things. But yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, well, I wanted to ask you, like, if it wasn't theater, what would you do? And then here you are, like, oh, actually, I have this like corporate thing. It's amazing. Do you think you'll go back to that in the future? Like, is that also part of your passion or no?
Yeah, because I think theme parks are just theater on a large scale, right? It's immersive 365 theater, and there's so many ways to connect with story, and I think that's one of the best ways to do it. And everyone has a lane, so I definitely think I would go back. I think it's a great. It let me see the world. So yeah.
Wow, that is amazing. It is funny. I was actually born in Cuba. Cool. And I came when I was 11. But whenever I hear people talk about like their passions and how it started when they were like very young and whatever, I always wonder. I guess as a kid, I did have like an inclination towards the arts, but in Cuba, like there's this really kind of like horrible like stigma. It's hard because now I go back and I see artists and they are like looked up to, but at the same time, it's such a hard life. And in Cuba, if like the resources, like the government just doesn't pay enough, and so it's never seen like as a career. There's also a lot of associations of like being gay, and you're only if you do theater, you're very gay. It's this very like macho man, idea. So I think that probably put a lot of stuff as a kid in my head of like, oh, you can never be an artist. That means people are gonna know you're gay and coming out and all that. I came out later in college, but then at age 11, which is like when the journey, I don't know, I'll never know the answer. Like if I had really like lean into that, if I had stayed in Cuba, like what would I, it's that song from In the Heights, what would I have been, when Nina sings, who would I have become? I don't know the lyrics, I forgot. but it is something I always question myself. Like I was ripped from that journey at 11, and then coming here, I had all this pressure that I put on myself of like, being the first one in my family to go to college and having to become, something, and because that would be the first, the first career, like university career. So I actually went to architectural school for literally a semester. Yes, because I was such a dork in high school. I had like
You
such
can
a
come
great.
too.
I know, right? Yes. Honestly, like that does sound amazing to me. But then the same. Then I'm grateful that my parents were super supportive, and they were like, "No, you're not very happy with this, and like you should start leaning more into the arts." And one thing led to another. But it is funny how, like, being an immigrant had been ripped off, and all these other passions. Yeah, it's just Elizabeth Gilbert has this whole podcast about passion and curiosity. Oh, time is up, I think. But yeah, Elizabeth Gilbert, passion or curiosity. But we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we need to
Hey,
connect
everyone.
with
Yes, Justin. Let's build more theme parks and create like interactive theater in the middle of it.
Yeah. Well, cool. We're gonna bring in Joomin and Raymond.
Yes, there they are.
Hi, guys.
I'm up for the theme park. That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Right? Totally. All right, have fun.
All right.
Bye, y'all. What's up, Joomin?
Hey, Ray. What's up?
Not much, my Korean brother.
Oh,
I'm like learning this now too from like the young ones. Can I ask you a question, Joomin?
yes, of course.
Because I think your story is so amazing and inspirational. I know you came to the States from Korea, and you overcame so much, and you achieved your dreams. You've been on Broadway, you've been off Broadway, you've been in films and TV shows. And I'm so terrified. Like thinking of going to another country and doing that terrifies me. Like what inspired you? Like so that all those kids out there can hear your story and be inspired by you.
Initially, I think it's similar to what Carlos said. Back then, Korean musical theater was very limited, I would say, because the nature is very different in Korean musical theater. So they do like triple, double casting, and then they have like this like a company kind of concept. So there's like 3-4 big companies. So it's like you are hired in this like corporate group. So when you get hired in this group, then you will do shows from this group in different groups. So other than that, it will be hard to find a job, and that means there are not many shows. So once you get in, you're good. Like you can do many shows, but if you're not getting in yet, it's really, really hard to get in. And also, there's like a really big gap between ensemble to lead roles. Usually they bring in like celebrities. So, but the ensemble payment back then was unsustainable. So you cannot make a living with it. So I was wondering what I can do back then. I was like, I truly love theaters back then, but like there's not bright future with me. So I was, what should I do? What should I do? I was like finding like possibilities, and I went to this music school when I was dancer. Like I did many things that I could do, but one day my professor was like, you should go to America and just try out Broadway.
Because that's easier.
Yeah,
like,
I know. Like she just said it like that, and I was like, I don't think that's easy. Like I mean, like I don't think that's happening. I'm old. I don't know how to speak English. But once you just, I don't know, like people say, jump off the cliff. I was so worried and afraid, but at the same time, I had no future in Korea. I felt like I had no future in Korea. So it was either way. I mean, I should just try it. The possibility for bright future, right? Yeah. Rather than just sticking in with just like bad. Not bad, but like now it's different. Like they're so much better Korea. So that's why I did it. US, and I tried everything I could, and but like the thing is, I'm so amazed by Korean musical theater recognized by Broadway community now. And you posted, I think you posted, I see American, Korean playing Fear in a weekend.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I was like, I can like, actually one of the Fear, his name is Kyung-soo. He's my good friend. And I grew up seeing them playing all these roles, and it wasn't weird for me. And then now he's like, and I'm like, yeah, Ray, you should play the role. Like
I would love to. It'd be amazing.
I'm like that, like
I think we've 1 minute, but I just wanted to like say too, like I think it's important. Like people have been putting like all these Korean casts on like Instagram and stuff, and I'm like, wait, that can also happen here in the States. You don't have to go to Korea to do that. So Broadway theater, you don't have to just go to Asia to cast Asian principal actors. So
yes,
we're here. We're here.
Wait. Can we, do we have time? Can I ask you? Okay.
Oh yeah,
Ray,
sure.
I'm curious. What inspired you to be in the theater? Like I'm wondering, were you like like the minority, like insecure mind? How you like? What makes you to overcome like everything and like try like
It is just in my blood. I'll keep it succinct because I know that everyone's trying to come back. It's in my blood. My parents tried to make me a doctor. I tried to be a TV producer, but in deep down, I love to sing. I love to perform. I'm a ham, and I just knew this was what my soul was supposed to do in this life on Earth now. And it took a while to get there, but once I realized it, I was good to go. So,
yes.
Yeah. And I guess we'll bring everybody back. I'm seeing the chat, but I know we all share that too, right? Like we all share that we have this like role. I feel like that took time for us to find. I know it took me a while to find, but now we embrace it. Now we get to do beautiful work and meet beautiful people. So
I love you all. I am so happy we did that. We started the conversation talking about hatred and coming from an educated place, from not knowing the other, right? From not knowing what's sitting next to us on the subway, and the fear that there is to even say hello to that person. And so that builds up a wall, exemplifying the idea of roles for the last 4 years. And at the same time, our job as humans, as people of color, as artists who can use our art to make a difference, is to continue to build bridges, not walls, And
Right.
so I take my hat to the experience of sharing one more Sunday with all of you. I'm grateful. I always wish that there's time for more. I'm always grateful that we create a plan and we throw it to the garbage. Because the idea really is sharing. Am I right, Francisca? Or
Yeah,
what?
that's right. It's just a blueprint, I think that's what makes this work, is that just being able to, we have the idea and then we just kind of see what direction it's going to go, and if wherever it takes us, we just have to ride that wave.
So Raymond, Joomin, Milteri, Carlos, Monica, Justin, Francisca, Heather, Matt Stephens, who's not here today, but has done a lot of work of preparing for today. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your voices and your existence. As Justin gave to all of us, is a quote forever, per seculum seculorum. Our existence is not only enough, but it's a statement on itself. I just bastardized your quote, Justin. You want to speak it for us?
What? Our existence is our activism.
Our existence is our activism. And I fell in love with an artist who in his art was of activism all the time without trying to, Charlie Chaplin. And I think our conversation leads me to remember these words. To those who can hear me, I say, do not despair. The misery that is now upon us is but the passing of greed, the bitterness of men who fear the way of human progress. The hate of men will pass, and dictators die, and the power they took from the people will return to the people, and so long as men die, liberty will never perish. Don't give yourself to these unnatural ideas, machine ideas with machine minds and machine hearts. You are not machines. You are not cattle. You are men and women and people of color and lovely humans. And you have the love of humanity in your hearts. You don't hate. Only the unloved hates. The unloved and the unnatural. So with that being said, thank you everybody for your time. We're going to wrap it up with one more video that will tell us a little bit more about what's going on in RL. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you. I look forward to seeing more.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
us.
Bye, y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice meeting y'all.
Nice meeting you
Nice
all.
to see you all. Thank you.
This week, join us for our IG Live Monday, 6:30 p.m. ET with our host Justin Wing Tim Yu, and then First Time Fridays with the Next Gen RL. And on Wednesday, BWS Plus is back with Sojay teaching contemporary dance at 6:30 p.m. And don't forget to apply now for our 14th annual Dare to Go Beyond Performing Arts Camp, a virtual one-week camp from July 26th through 30th. And June 11th, lights up on Washington Heights. The In the Heights movie premiere is on June 11th. And if you've enjoyed today, we hope you will join us next month, June 20th, for Inspiration Sunday. And as always, don't forget to dare to go beyond. Atrévete a más. And from our Revolución Latina family to yours, we hope you have a great week.